Welcome to After Dark with me. Hi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to a world of magic.
I would think.
NPC.
Your turn, Nicky. Oh no, we lost him?
No, I'm just reveling in the silence.
Oh, okay.
It's like,
I'm
nah,
actually
nah.
vibrating at a frequency that only dogs can hear.
Oh, God.
But what they hear is fantastic.
For people who are listening to the show, this is After Dark, the one where we get to talk about whatever the fuck we want. Not really to do with Star Wars, but probably we will talk about it because we're losers. I'm currently eating a lasagna that I've created. I'm watching the Euros final, where, surprise, surprise, the Germans are being shitty and getting away with fucking murder.
That sounds like history. Until, it wasn't.
Until they got a little more chill.
Well, no, they just got caught.
Yeah, they got a little chill outside Stalingrad.
Yeah.
Speaking of Stalingrad, I just think it's kind of beautiful that history repeats itself. You know, we're having a bit of a crisis in Russia. We got them debating land topics and all that jazz, and at the same time, Tolkien's back in the picture.
The global rise of fascism.
Yeah.
And the global rise of J.R.R. Tolkien.
There we go.
Because fascism is bad, but also
elves are good.
Elves are good.
Powerful light, powerful dark.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Oh, the Germans getting told off again.
Also, speaking of, we've touched on the Lord of the Rings stuff a little bit, but in our normal episode, but am I the only one who doesn't think Sauron is hot?
We don't know what he looks like.
But, the things that people are, screen grabbing and calling Sauron, he looks like Eminem.
That's the thing. We don't know that's him.
Eminem hasn't eaten in 3 days. Okay. Okay.
There's, as far as I'm aware, that is just pure conjecture that it's even him.
Okay.
It could be,
he's not.
but I don't think it's anything to be concerned about yet. Yeah, it was a choice, for sure. But yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting to see how that works out. Because also it's like we're in a point in time where Sauron can have many different looks, and he sort of appears to people, I think, differently, under various guises. So it could, if it is him, it could just be one version of him, and stuff like that. So it's vibes. I'm excited to see where all that goes.
I'm excited as well. And I was sitting here and I'm like, man, I really want to reread the Silmarillion. And then I thought about it and I went, no, I've done that. I'm like, I'm not ready to force myself into something like that again. It's good. It's a good read. It's a hard read, but it's a good one.
It's just it's both Tolkien sort of not super accessible prose taken to the most extreme levels.
It is you gotta want to read that.
But it is also just it's the most incredible world building and epicness, but it is just oh my god.
Yeah.
What is happening? And yeah, it's really interesting because it's the right distribution for Tolkien's works amongst who can adapt what is some of the most convoluted shit imaginable. Like Rings of Power or Amazon doesn't have the rights to the Silmarillion.
Mm-mm.
They have like the rights to like Appendix B or like something like the appendices and maybe some other shit, and it's like, so like even though there are things that will probably happen that are in the Silmarillion, like Fall of Numenor and all that, it's like I don't know what like navigated waters they've taken to take some of this stuff, and um it must have been like just the weirdest writer's room to like try and map out what a season looks like and be like, well, we got one line about this person, so let's
So I guess
just
that's the
go
central
off on
character
that.
for these episodes.
Yeah.
I do like
Like-
the idea of like Tolkien running out of book titles and then being like, the appendices and other shit by J.R. Tolkien.
And other shit.
Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, because like if you I think I'm only doing this because I literally have them right here. So like
Nerd.
Appendix B, that is the like the second age, is like 2 pages, and they're or like a page and a half in my version of Return of the King, and it's just like you're gonna pull out 4 or 5 seasons of like a page and a half of like bullet points, like that is ballsy. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. I hope, at least. It all indications of trailers at least are very exciting.
Yeah, like for me, I was really excited about it because I
I'm here
just
for
like the
it.
idea
All
of,
signs point to yes.
like, when I was growing up, I wasn't really like a Lord of the Rings fan, to be honest. Like, it was one of those things where like it might have been too nerdy for even me. All my friends
Okay,
like,
Doctor
rude.
Who.
huh?
Rude.
An okay Doctor Who.
This was before Doctor Who was back. That's how long ago this was. Okay, let's just chill the fuck out a bit.
It's too nerdy for me. Let me play with my screwdriver.
Go with Star Trek, Nicky.
Speaking of
no,
screwdriver, how many vibrators do you think have been colloquially named by their owners sonic screwdrivers?
Funny thing you mentioned
How
that,
many?
Claire. How many times do you think I
Oh,
was bullied
okay.
at school using that joke?
Oh, I bet quite a few.
Yeah, yeah.
Joke's on them, because my prostate felt great.
You know, it's just it keeps going. You know,
Oh, goodness.
My orgasms were so powerful.
and look where they are now. Look
Oh
where
my
they are now.
God.
Yeah, jokes on them. Everyone who comes out Doctor Who is fucking G. You're all repping the Matt Smith now. I was there. I was there at the beginning.
Do not
I was
quote the
there,
book. I was there when it was written.
3,000 years ago.
In 2010. Yeah, it's just like, you know, for me, I don't know why I never really got into it, because my dad liked it. And then probably 20 something, that's when I started watching them properly. And they're great, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
How that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
believe it or not, good.
Yeah. For me, Fellowship of the Ring was the theater experience that I often hear people talk about the original trilogy having, where like I went into Fellowship of the Ring and lost track of time and space, and like I just existed watching that thing, and then it ended. I was like, it's over? Really? They didn't destroy the ring. Like I didn't fucking know that it was a multi-parter. But also just again, like to be, it would have been 9, I think, 9 when that came out. And to lose track of an almost 3-hour movie, it's like, yep, it got me. Yeah.
Yeah, those movies, you know, and they were my gateway into the books, which I feel like for a lot of people our age, that was kind of how it went.
I feel like even outside of our age, that's how it went. Like,
Yeah.
I think
Like
most
we read The Hobbit in school. Everybody read The Hobbit, you know, I feel like, but
yeah, I think even
Not
in
the-
school, I'd read it after the movies came out.
yeah, I did too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, and I think that's why, a lot of people don't freak out at the Lord of the Rings movies in terms of like adaptations, because they go fucking wild off book.
Yeah.
But like nobody talks about that, because that was the entry point. So it's like
Yeah, exactly.
there's no like going back and looking at that. But yeah, it's yeah, they definitely, I think the movies were like the most incredible like gateway for sure.
Definitely.
I think what I like about it as well is obviously it's very much like the quirkiness and beauty of like the English countryside. You know, Tolkien was really like, obviously when he was at war and stuff, and the idea that somewhere like a beautiful country in like France can become this hellish sort of destructive place just by the, you know, the mere whims of a few people who want power. It's heartbreaking, but there's also like this that beautiful quaintness of it all, and I think that's what the trailer that I really enjoyed was that. Yeah, you have like Galadriel like being badass and seeing potentially Sauron and all that stuff, but also you get
Eminem.
Lenny Henry going, "There be ghouls here." I'm like, oh, it's Lenny Henry,
Sir Lenny Henry, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Take it away, Aaron.
2.5, 3 2 quarters.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a vital ingredient to that world. You have to get that innocence as well, and sort of like what's not been corrupted as of yet.
Yeah, what you're fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about House of the Dragon trailer?
Dude, House of the Dragon looks fucking good.
It looks so good.
Yeah, it's that's like I love what George R. R. Martin talked about when they were like, so how do you feel about Rings of Power? He's like, I want it to succeed. Like, stop putting us against each other. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
We are not the same. Like, you can't just put, oh man, the two fantasy shows going at it. It's like they have entirely different sort of vibes and audiences, or not audiences, but like in the term of like, as a family, you can watch Rings of Power with your kids. Probably wouldn't do that with House of the Dragon.
Yeah, probably not.
House of the Dragon is a kids are gone to bed kind of thing, and like that's a great thing to have. It's the same with Willow. It's like, what if Willow was coming out instead of Rings of Power, and they'd be like, oh man, House of the Dragon going up against Willow, and it's just like those are entirely different realms of fantasy, and it's like, let them all party together.
Yeah. And you guys forget that we have more than 1 hour. I feel like a lot of people have more than 1 hour a week to dedicate to a television show. So you can watch both of them.
Yeah.
People can watch both. It's okay. We can coexist peacefully. We should, so that we can make more of both.
I don't want to be like the generic creepy dude, but yes, I'm excited about House of the Dragon in terms of the storylines. And for me personally,
Here we go.
I haven't read the books, so I know like the history of those characters and stuff are pretty much outlined, and you get like a good idea of what happens. I don't know that, so I've been tempted. I'm like, should I just read up on it beforehand and have a look and just to inform my viewing? I'm decided not to.
Yeah.
Just because I'm intrigued by it. But then I also have to say that I'm very much looking forward to just seeing Olivia Cook say anything.
Come on.
True.
That voice is just...
I heard her real voice for the first time like a few weeks ago.
Oh wow, really?
And I'm like, oh, she sounds like my cousins. I was like, and then I looked up where she's from. I'm like, oh, I have family there.
Maybe you're related.
I mean, you never know. Good
If
old,
she's not, she about to be. Come
good
on.
old Oldham gang rocking out. But yeah, it's yeah, that's a really fascinating thing with House of the Dragon because, like, for me, it's like season 1 Game of Thrones was my gateway. Then I read them all before season 2 came out. But um, this is like, now I already know the people before they're like on the screen. Right? I didn't know that with Game of Thrones, except for like people added later. So now it's like I can look at all these characters and like really have fun with the idea of like who the like sort of culture is going to gravitate towards, and like who are people going to like ride for, who's going to be the Joffrey, who's everyone going to hate, kind of thing. And it's fun to like have those um little questions leading up to it, because yeah, there's like this is, I remember when I read the first sort of like account of this war, that he put into or he wrote down. Um, it's like an 80-page novella in a giant short story compilation, and it's just like 80 pages. It's like if you condensed every emotional peak and trough from Game of Thrones into 80 pages. It's like that's what this war feels like. And so yeah, no, it's gonna be absolutely wild. There's going to be one fight that, if they do it the way it reads on the page, it will be possibly the greatest moment in the history of both Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon.
Damn.
Oh shoot!
Because like it is a fight of the most epic levels, and yeah, I can't wait. That won't be this season. That'll be probably like closer to the end. I think they're giving this like a 5-season run.
Yeah.
So I would expect that to be maybe even the last season. It happens pretty late. And then yeah, it's gonna be really cool to see how people react to people's fates.
Yeah, because I'm still unaware of most of the stuff that happens. The only thing I think I got close to in terms of character, like descriptions or like what to expect, is that every time I see like a post about Matt Smith's character, everyone just calls him a fuckboy. Is that accurate?
Kind of. He's many things. I can find the oops, just knocked some shit over.
He's a well-rounded fuckboy.
Yeah, there's a short story like entirely dedicated to him that George R. R. Martin wrote. And let me see if I can find the here we go. The title of this short story is The Rogue Prince, or a King's Brother. Consideration of the early life adventures, misdeeds, and marriages of Prince Daemon Targaryen, as sent down by Archmaester Gildane of the Citadel of Old Town. So yeah, this guy is he's been around, and
He's been around.
and he enters a lot of interesting alliances and relationships and some good old incest and everything we love from the
nice
Targaryen dynasty.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, that's the other thing I'm really interested about, which I know personally is going to make people
Please
on the
tell me
internet.
it's not the incest.
What?
I thought you were about to say that you were personally interested in the incest.
Excuse you, just because I'm from the UK. Me and my cousins are very inside right now. No, I think what's interesting for me and what I love about this stuff and why I love history and why people are going to get very angry, I would imagine, just by the basis of the internet and people being stupid, is that these stories, which I love about them, is that they're stories, and not everything might have a bias, but not everything might have a purposeful bias, but everything does have a bias or lack of details. And what they mentioned in the behind the scenes footage for this show is that some of the stuff that we hear about in Game of Thrones, like long old stories and traditions and whatever, might not be true, or might be read in a way that is biased towards the victor, obviously, like you see in real life.
That's what's funny about what I just read. Whenever he writes these things, he writes them as Archmaester Gildane of the Citadel of Oldtown. So it's like you're not getting it from this, like omnipresent point of view. Like you're getting it from the guy who's recording the history.
Exactly.
So even structurally in the novels or the literature, it's POV. It's what is happening. And yeah, they said what you see in this show is what happened. So like there, you could read all the books and probably still have surprises. Or not all the books. It's like one book, or a part of one book. So that, yeah, you could read the sort of detailed history as given, and then the show's going to be like, so this is actually how it went down, which is exciting.
That's cool.
That's what I love. Yeah, like because you see it a lot, especially like people on Twitter who think the historians are like, yeah, but you have to remember that this happened at this date, and someone's like, yeah, but think about the context of why that was written, who that was written by. Like, think about how much shit was talked about Cleopatra after after Mark Antony died. Of course they're going to be anti-Cleopatra. Octavian's not going to be like, do you know what? Just tell the truth.
You know what? We just whooped up on them, but let's paint her in a nice light. I'm gracious as ever, as everyone knows Octavian.
Famously,
ever gracious Octavian.
Oh,
yeah. Even that fight I was teasing, in terms of literature, they leave it kind of vague as to what happens, like what actually happened. We don't actually know, like in terms of how it resolves. So yeah, it's gonna be super cool to see what is considered like the official account, where they plant their flag in terms of specific things.
Yeah, like when you play it like a multiple like level ended game, and then you pick up the sequel, and it's like this happened. You're like, no, it didn't. I didn't do that.
Oh yeah, like the RPG kind of stuff where
like Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, these are generic choices we made to just do story.
It's like, I did not do that. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm excited. I think there's a lot to delve into of those stories. I'm really intrigued. Fantasy's living at the minute, and that's good. I feel like
it's having its moment again, which is great.
And healthy competition, which is good.
Yeah, it's and it's all like a symptom of, streamers or the streaming, platforms wanting to have the thing. But if you don't give a shit about what the streamers do, then you're just gonna be having a good time watching all the shit you could possibly imagine. Because everybody's got something to get into.
You're damn right.
Tell you what, as well, Star Trek's doing pretty well, right?
God damn it, they sure are. Jesus Christ, what a fucking world!
Do you know what? I have to catch up with all the shows. I think I mentioned this on Twitter. Like, I know that people are saying you only have to watch if you want to. You can just watch certain episodes of Discovery. I want to go and watch all of them just because of the nature of. I just feel like I should. I'm intrigued.
If you want to, yeah.
I like.
You definitely don't need
no
season 3 and 4 for Strange New Worlds.
No, but
that would not be adding anything to the Strange New Worlds experience.
I am the dork who likes the world building. I like reading the maps and the history. I like reading the stupid.
It's no world building related though.
Huh?
Like, there's no world building related in those third and fourth seasons.
No, but in terms of like timeline wise, I like to know. Okay, so whilst the Kelvin timeline departs at this part when the Romulans die, this is happening after that. Okay, cool. Like I just like knowing the timeline. I'm a big weirdo that way. So I am intrigued to see the stories. Just anyway, I need to watch the shows. I'm very much excited to delve into those stories, even if they're bad. It'd be nice to dive in. And then hopefully I get to watch Strange New Worlds. That's going to be loads of fun. But the thing I love about Star Trek is that it doesn't take itself too seriously, and I love it when they do crossover episodes. I remember, I think was it Deep Space Nine or Voyager when O'Brien goes back in time to the Tribbles episode.
I don't know because I haven't seen those ones.
Oh, okay.
But it sounds like that's something that happens.
Yeah, I think it might be Voyager. It's one of them. And they go back to the original the original Tribbles episode, and like the way they've cut around it, like the '60s backgrounds, is really fun and like really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard about the animated crossover between Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, I was like, this is great, because not only are you getting a time travel episode, you're getting a whole like visual crossover in terms of like the animation live action.
I tried to explain it to somebody in Star Wars terms, and I was like, this is like if the Mandalorian and the Bad Batch crossover, and Ewan McGregor is directing it. Like,
yes.
Oh, wow.
That's literally how it like breaks down, because they've got Jonathan Frakes coming to do it.
Who, as we all know,
who
notorious for directing Thunderbirds the movie.
What a guy. And First Contact. So there you go. And yeah, no, he's very he's been pretty active in terms of directing Discovery episodes. I think he's directed Picard episodes. And then of course the old Next Generation movies. So yeah, no, it's just like, it's wild. They're just, like you said, like they are having fun with it. And I used to always, I became the thing I wanted to destroy. So like I'd always get so annoyed at people when, we'll say Star Trek or someone else does something promotion wise, and then somebody gets on Twitter and goes, "Why can't Lucasfilm do this? Why can't Lucasfilm be like this?" And now when I see how much fun Star Trek is having, I'm like, come on, Lucasfilm. You can have this level of fun. You can. There's just so many things. I don't understand how Star Wars doesn't do a what's it called? Like a post-episode talk show for their series. Like the Star Trek one is called The Ready Room, and it's like Will Wheaton, and they interview people after each episode of like whatever's aired. And obviously like the big sort of pop culture one is probably The Talking Dead. Yeah. That was maybe one of the first like real popularizers of it. But it's like, when you see what they do, it's like letting, I don't know, I feel like it's sort of like we got into this phase, whether through sort of just like as a response to leaks, they shut everything down, and you get like your Kevin Feige's gonna murder me if I say anything type attitude, right? And that's sort of gone consistently with Marvel, Star Wars, this sort of like everything is shut off aspect to it. And I feel like now we're sort of pulling out of that, and I feel like things like Star Trek, when they're letting you in on the fun, like as it's happening. Instead
like Kirk, right? Like when they announced Kirk.
Well, yeah, that too, but also just like, I just mean in general with these shows, with these like post-episode shows. So like they'll interview the actors. So if it's like, if there's a a Spock heavy episode. It'll be the Spock actor in this show, and it's all like pre-done, it's pre-recorded for the most part. But it's like, and then like for the last episode, they flew Will Wheaton to Toronto and let him go see a season 2 set. And he's like, "Hey, this is cool." And it was a bar. Like, it's not anything major, right? Like, it's just cool. And it's just like, you're telling me, Lucasfilm, you can't fucking get someone like Janina Gavankar to go like host a little talk show, like, half an hour on like a YouTube upload, and interview whoever, if say it's Mandalorian and somebody comes in for an episode, or it's like Katie Sackhoff or someone, like, just have fun with it. Like, you don't have to be so closed off. I feel like we're coming out of that phase.
Yeah, it's the same with Doctor Who. Like this current era that's just about to wrap up. I think one of the things that was kind of a bummer is that they've been so closed down, and like even when promoting the season, they like wouldn't give anything away, to the point where I think people were just not tuning in because there's nothing to really entice them into watching it. Like, you can't say. I remember they cast what's his name? Oh, Jesus! I keep saying people's names. Bear with me.
I will not.
John Bishop.
Okay.
John Bishop as one of the companions, and it was like building up to the series, and they're like, "So what can you tell us about Dan?" And they're like, "Yeah, so he's an average guy. He's from Liverpool, and he's a bricklayer, and that's all we can really say." And it's like, that's not interesting. That's not what you sell a TV show on. That's not going to entice people. And then ever since Russ T Davies has come back to the show, he's for years, like ever since he left Doctor Who, like he did his own stuff, and then like the last few years he's been like talking about how the show could be like Star Wars, like it could have that. It has the potential in the world to like have different shows for different characters and different eras and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And he wants it to be like Disney Plus, like, because he's the one who made like Torchwood for the first time, which was like the first ever spin-off, and then he made another spin-off with an old companion, and he wants that back. Like, he wants to bring that back, but he's also very much like of the sense that when they were filming the 60th anniversary, which comes out next year, and they've brought back David Tennant and Catherine Tate, he was just like, "Look, they're going to be filming outside. There's no point being like, oh, I don't know." So they announced it way before. And they did the same with Neil Patrick Harris. Like, I think Neil Patrick Harris mentioned this on the View. He was like, "Yeah, we were just about to film, and Rusty Davies just texts me and goes, hey, we might as well just tell them." But like, not tell them like who you're going to be. It's like very vague, like one of the Doctor's worst enemy, like the most dangerous enemy that he's ever faced, which is like interesting. Because you're like, oh, okay, that's enticing. And he's like, "Okay, I'll just take a selfie in character." And he took a selfie in character looking mischievous and evil, and they put it out there, and it was like, damn, awesome, okay, great, like that's intriguing.
Yeah. I feel like one of the best sort of modern examples I can think of is when he was making The Hobbits, Peter Jackson would release these production vlogs.
Yes. That
didn't tell you anything. They even like made a joke about that. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're looking at designs of Smaug," and then like they'd look at the computers like Barney the dinosaur, right? Like they mess with you with that too. But like also just show you the process as it's happening. And I feel like that's a really valuable way to keep people engaged, and not feel like it's a closed shop that is just serving up food for you later. Like,
yeah.
And I think also like another one, and this is like way winding back the clock, before or as Halo 3 was being made, Bungie made a podcast, and it just felt like The Office was alive because they were all like talking about their work, and they'd be like, "This week we're going to have a sandbox designer come on and explain the cool new things they've like added to the enemies so that they're more interactive." So it's like they're not telling you, "So this is what's going to happen," and they're not afraid to tell you the process and like what you can expect and have fun with and stuff like that. And it just feels now very old school to keep everything shut. And I think it's something it's something if I was in charge, I'd be going in on, because right now my mortal enemy is StarWars.com. Like I have a vendetta against StarWars.com. It's such a waste of a platform. Like it's awful. It is an awful resource for fans.
I agree. I mean, because I feel like there used to be so many other things on StarWars.com that helped you feel like you were kind of getting a peek into the world without really spoiling anything at all. I feel like the Star Wars show when Rebels was coming out, like that had some really fun stuff. Not like quite as good as the quality.
Right?
Recon. Oh my god!
Yeah.
That episode by episode
Rebels Recon
after
was the
show.
best.
Yeah, and like again, and that's like the thing that makes you feel like, oh, this is like a living, breathing place where people are like excited to talk about their work, right? And like it's that, and like you just go to the Star Wars website and it's like links to Disney Plus. Stream this on Disney Plus. links to maybe some YouTube stuff. And then like quizzicals or listicles and which blank are you? And I'm just like, you could be so much better. You could just do so much more. But I don't know if they have orders from up on high on what the website needs to be, or if just people aren't incredibly creative in making decisions for what goes on there. But it's like one thing I would do, I'd be like, you'd make a story group newsletter, a monthly newsletter from the story group, not telling you about what the shit they're going to be releasing, but just like tease fun projects, show what people are up to. I think that would like alleviate so much of the bullshit that goes on with online assumptions of what the story group does. And then it's also like they're also on an like executive enough level to have this overall picture and know what to tease, and just like it's just one thing of like keeping people a part of things, and like do more fan engagement, do more interview random people. There should be episodes of like the Lucasfilm archives, where every time an episode of something airs, they go to the prop masters in the archives and be like, yeah, this is the blaster Cassian used. And like there's just so much they could do and are not doing.
Yeah.
And it's 100%. Like, yeah, and like now these new streaming platforms, like with Paramount, because they do it for Strange New Worlds, they do it for other Star Trek shows, they do it for Halo, and it's like it just feels like they're behind and they could kick it up, because it's also like, you're telling me if they put their minds into it, they wouldn't like blow the shit out of everything else? They absolutely could. So yeah, that's why the Star Wars digital space is my enemy right now.
I think obviously as well, I'm sure there's like a boundary list they have where you have to hit a certain amount of FCO, you have to hit a certain amount of blah 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 blah, which sucks. And it's not just Star Wars; it's the internet at large. You see it a lot of entertainment journalism sites. I'm so fucking sick and tired of reading an article and just being so depressed, because it's not always the writer's fault, although there are some writers out there who it is their fault.
More bad at what they do.
But it's one of those things where you can tell that they've been forced to do this because it makes clicks. It's such a disgrace to the name of news. Like, one of the biggest things that hit recently was the whole Stranger Things thing, where it's like, I can't believe this. Netflix have gone back and changed the scene where Jonathan takes pictures of Nancy. How that why did they cut that out? Because it makes no sense. Like, what? Because later on, when he throws the camera down, when Steve throws the camera, it makes no sense because he doesn't take pictures of Nancy. And then someone, I can't remember which outlet did it. I think it might have been /Film, was like, no, they didn't. It took you 5 seconds to go back, click on Netflix, click on the episode and where that happens, to go and watch it and see that had not changed whatsoever. Nothing. 0% had changed. And yet, this had been spread around the internet, and other people kept taking it up and lapping it on and being like, yeah, well, they did say this would happen. And I'm like, well, first of all, chillax, you know? And also, I know people keep talking about the George Lucas of it, where, like, I think the Duffer Brothers were like, yeah, we're going to go back in and, like, special edition it. That could be a joke. You know? Even if it isn't, that's fine. Either way, it doesn't change anything. But from my point of view, they were joking.
And, I mean, take it from this podcast itself. You know how many times we say stupid shit on this podcast and remind you that we're a podcast that says stupid shit and then people take it seriously? Like, Charlie, you got a random question on your anonymous, like, did you really have sex with so-and-so at Celebration? Did you really hook up with... And I believe that question had to do with the three-way jokes that you and I made, that we made on an episode, talking about how you, me, and Mel had a three-way in our hotel. Somebody took that seriously. I'm not joking. It was blank, 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 blank. 5 letters. Like, we tell you that basically don't take any shit we say seriously. Yet still, people do not know what a joke is.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, but...
No, Claire, I do appreciate you lying there. No one else will know. Oh, yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah.
It's just you two going at it. I was just watching.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we moved in together. It's much easier to get some that way.
But yeah, you're right.
Goodness.
It's like, first of all, why would I explain that on a Q&A? I mean, I mean, it did say ask me anything, so to be fair, I'm putting myself there.
That's to be fair. It was anything.
But I'm like yeah, sorry.
Can I just read the headline of something that went up on StarTrek.com?
Yeah, sure.
Star Trek?
Yeah. So
Okay, go on.
this was a pitched article from a freelancer. Discovering Michael Burnham and embracing my autistic experience. One fan's connection to the captain of Discovery. And it's just like, StarWars.com would never do that. Ever.
No.
Like, they lack the ability or whatever to even entertain that. There's just nothing interesting happens on StarWars.com. And I don't know why. I don't know who to blame. Someone must be to blame. Someone must
be punished.
Someone must be
My
taken down.
fingers are ready to point.
But it's like, again, it's just like, imagine if you went to StarWars.com and got to be a journalist. Like, that'd be cool. And it's like, you can't tell me that, like, they wouldn't hit click targets if they did something that was actually, like, meaningful, right? Like, an update again, like, if they did a story group newsletter that was, like, an update of the galaxy at large. Are you telling me that wouldn't get clicks?
I miss the classic.
I read the shit out of that.
Maybe I just miss the classic Star Wars show format. I thought that worked pretty well. Do you know what I missed as well? Like, you know when they did like segments where it's like talking to the band churches about their experience with Star Wars and like seeing a picture of the lead singer Lauren dressed as Leia when they're like kids. That sort of thing I missed. Like where you get like people who are fans on Kevin Smith or
exactly. That like doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure
like,
there's
like I don't know where it starts. Like I don't know where the ideas get stopped. Maybe that's like the better way to put it. Because I will give them the benefit of the doubt that they are creative people.
I guarantee you it's a budget thing. 100%. 100% it's a budget thing. And that's what we see. We see it a lot of times. So you see like when big industries buy out really great news outlets or entertainment outlets and then they get bought by some bigger corporation. You see people like classic names that you associated with that site leave or like not go or just go away. And you see like people like doing like a lot of the same jobs that you're used to before, like just one person doing it, and then you see generic content. It's the same. It's like when everyone like Louds and Collider, and I'm like, like Collider like fired a lot of their great journalists, and then wanted to do just deep fake joke technology.
Yeah, that's like the famous one. Well, it's like, well then if it's budget, I'm gonna say it's a lack of creativity to work within the budget you have, because they wanted, it's like they turned into they decided one day, it's like, we're gonna make StarWars.com BuzzFeed, and it's gonna be listicles and quizzes and
Well, that's what
the
gets
odd
clicks.
the odd news drop.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's the thing, though. I'm like,
yeah.
How, like, you can't tell me if you make something of substance for like actual people to like enjoy. You can't convince me that it doesn't do better than which version of Obi-Wan are you?
I wish I could say you're right. You are right. But some people don't like to take the risk. Some people don't like to take the chance.
And there we go. Yeah, that's where.
There
we
go.
Down
you're
to.
Right.
It's
you know what's funny? To tie into a few things we've mentioned, you were saying about like taking risks and stuff. One of the biggest things that happened about 10 years ago, when they did the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, people complained because all the people that were returning weren't from the classic series. And they're like, how dare you, like, Peter Davison's still alive. Like, why can't he be in it? And what happened was actually they released like I think England just scored.
Hey.
So we'll check that.
What we got?
Yeah, you check
I might be a little behind.
But what was great was they actually did. Peter Davison produced, wrote, and directed his own little like jokey like spin-off thing, which is about the actors and them not getting picked for the 50th. Which had like people from behind the scenes, classic companions. Had Jenna Coleman in it with Matt Smith, appeared in like a dream sequence joke. Really tongue-in-cheek, really funny. And there's a moment where, because this is 2013, there's a joke in it where Sylvester McCoy keeps bragging because he's in The Hobbit, and he's like filming The Hobbit, and you see him as like Radagast Brown, like dressed up and stuff. And then there's like one scene where he's like, "No, I got to do this for the fans," and so he goes all the way back to the UK. And there's a sequence where, as you were saying about the behind the scenes Hobbit things, they show you Peter Jackson on the set of The Hobbit. Like, he's like, where the hell's Sylvester McCoy? Like, where is he? And you see him ringing him up, and then you get this amazing sequence with an actor from the film, and I'll play a little clip of it now, which always makes me laugh.
Ian, there's a problem with Sylvester. Sylvester who? Little bloke. Bird poo. He's just gone. His trailer is empty. He's left a note. Some garbled nonsense about Doctor Who. The same old stuff. It's like, he's gone. Is there any chance, Sir Ian, that you would be able to do this scene by yourself?
Well, I tell you what, Peter, I think it might a slight improvement.
Fucking legend.
And that
also, it was a goal, and what a fucking goal!
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Shout out Elatoon of my beloved Manchester United. Yeah, killing it out here.
Fuck yeah! What a day! It's coming home, Nicky.
I think it just might. But yeah, no, it's just like, it all goes back to, I think, the first thing you said when you brought up Star Trek. Like, they're having fun with it, and it just feels like you can have more fun with what you're making, and you're not doing it. And I think people in general would feel a lot more like a part of it, and I think you would create less bad faith takes and enthusiast coverage of what you're doing if you're more transparent about what you are, like, as a group of creators. And I think part of why stuff has gotten ugly is because it's like, again, it's like the what are you willing to say to a stranger versus what are you willing to say to someone who you kind of feel like you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, it's like if there, I think those, when you open the doors to the process, not the product itself, but like the process, then I think people feel more a part of it, and yeah, like you'll probably have less shit said about you by
Yeah.
just, you know, people in general. So like I just don't think it benefits anyone anymore. I feel like just as a culture, we are shifting from the sort of the secretiveness of you know, of how these things are put together, and it's like you can not reveal things, and you can also have fun.
Yeah, and I know for a fact that these people who are behind this as well, like they're like us. So I don't get why it's like one of the things that really shocked me. I don't know if you watched Miss Marvel, which was exceptional.
It was so fun. I loved it.
Aman Vellani did a Reddit like Q&A recently, and it was the funniest thing where she revealed that it's so stupid. She revealed that she had she texted Kevin Feige about stuff. Like, oh, is this happening? Like, what's going on? And she texted him when the trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home came out. And she was convinced, because she wasn't quite sure. She's like, I'm pretty sure that might be like the Hobgoblin, not the Green Goblin. So she texts Kevin Feige and goes, Hi Kevin, me and my friends were just watching the No Way Home trailer, and we're like, is that the Hobgoblin? Is that Green Goblin? I think it's the Hobgoblin, blah, blah, blah. And then Kevin Feige just fucking tweets back a gif of, I'm something of a scientist myself. And then she replied back with the Frodo, alright, then keep your secrets, Kev. Like, that's fun. But like,
That is fun.
Or like with we're the generation of fans that grew up watching the behind the scenes StarWars.com hyperspace stuff. That never I don't know about you, but that never ruined it for me. I wasn't like, oh no,
Yeah,
I'm not going to watch the film.
Things were done differently. Like, one of my favorite trailers is the theatrical Revenge of the Sith trailer, where they basically like, here's the movie. Right? Like, things were just different. Like, again, it's like I remember talking to someone a lot younger and being like, oh, I love that trailer. And like, why would you love that trailer? It shows you everything. I'm like, that's not the point, though.
No,
like,
exactly.
Like, it's...
And I still enjoyed it, you know?
Yeah. And also, it's like just the notion of the prequels in general. It's like the ending was already like a bit of a known quantity. So it's like,
yeah, we know.
it was just kind of filling in some blanks. But yeah, it's just like shit's different now. It's a different world. Like, get into it. And like, I have my own personal suspicions of who I want to blame, which I won't put on air. But I feel like there's just one hurdle, or there's one major hurdle in the way that can't get cleared, and it's just like, you could be doing so much more. You just could.
For me as well, I think that the media literacy is a big issue for things like this. I think I did a little thread about this recently, which was the fact that we see a lot of people complaining about problems that they created themselves. Like, for me, the big one was with WandaVision, the whole Misfit. Ever since WandaVision came out, every single Marvel property, which for some reason Phase 4 has become now a kicking ball for people to be like, I guess MCU sucks now, just because they don't like the stories, I guess. But the thing that keeps popping up is like the Mephisto joke, which is, for me personally, half the fun about these films is that and the TV shows especially, because you have like more time to explore, is that the Mephisto thing was based on context of like stuff from the comic books and just fun, like trying to work out what was going on. The whole point of the WandaVision was that at the beginning it was mainly like a mystery. Like, you didn't know if Wanda was the villain, you didn't know whether she was behind it, you didn't know if someone else behind it. So the fun is that you're, as an audience, trying to work out what it was. The issue is that sites jumped on that because they knew that people were looking into it. They knew that people wanted to look into the theories on who is Mephisto, blah, blah, blah. So what you saw was a lot of entertainment websites jump on that and write articles like, who is the villain of WandaVision? Who is Mephisto? And then they have to use language that entices people. So they use language that suggests that that is the villain. That is what's going to happen. This theory shows that this will happen. So when it doesn't happen, then people get angry because now they've been sold a bill of lies. They've been told, oh, well, this was supposed to happen. What a waste of time. Why do we keep talking about Mephisto? And it's like, because you went from a position of having fun, like, exploring and theorizing, to taking it seriously. And then you saw those same websites being like, why did Marvel trick us? Why were we misled? It's like, you did it!
Yeah.
You did it!
No,
it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
It's the machine. It's like this constant thing where, and it's like, that's the thing, like, we can sit here and critique it and blah, 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 but, like, I think it's gone. Like, I think we already lost. Like,
Yeah.
I just think it's gonna ever fix itself. And, like, because, like, entertainment journalism, I would say, as somebody from the outside, is not in a healthy place. And
I'll edit one little thing from that sentence and replace the entertainment with just journalism at whole. Because
That's
we're
fair.
Screwed.
That's fair in general. But
yeah.
But yeah, for this stuff, it's like, and I don't know if it's like a chicken and the egg type thing now, where it's like, did journalism bend to stupid people, or did people get stupider because the journalism got bad? And like, I don't know how it is, but I know they feed each other. That's for sure.
It's definitely a situation of symbiosis. It's enforced, and it's a misunderstanding because now you see people going into a project with ideas of what they expect to see in it in their brain. So then when they don't get it, it becomes the film's problem.
Yeah, they did it wrong. Like,
yes.
Oh, you didn't make this right. You didn't make this the right way. And I feel like for me that happened with almost every Star Wars thing that's like ever happened. But like I noticed it a lot with the Bad Batch. Like it almost drove me crazy seeing the shit people were saying about that. Maybe you got blocked by a few people because of what I said about it. But yeah, it's just like this idea of like, you're not making the thing I thought it was gonna be, and it's not good. And it's just like, how about you go fuck yourself, first of all?
It's also the idea that it's also the idea that characters have to behave in a certain, like, why would a character do that? It's like, why do you do things that you do sometimes? Are you telling me that you've never done something stupid, or you haven't been you've made a decision based on emotions and gone, do you know what? Maybe if I had some fucking person on the internet go, why are you doing that? I might not have done it. But that's not how life works.
It's not how like storytelling works. I remember one of the things my teacher said was like, if you want to go see like, if you want to go see realistic characters, go watch Your Neighbor.
Yeah.
Like, go watch a movie. Like when you write, make characters big and crazy. Like don't to get so stuck in. Obviously, there's like a line where it's like they have to make sense for themselves. But the whole idea of like, I think a good example is like is Peter Quill in Infinity War.
Yes.
Where people are like, why did he do that? Like, he's so stupid. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm like, but it's him. Like, and it's his fallacy, you know, it's everything about who he is that pushed him to do that, to fuck it up, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's so many contextual clues for why Peter did that. Namely, people seem to forget as well that he was kidnapped as a child. He didn't emotionally grow the way normal people do because he was kidnapped by other people who are like emotionally compromised, like childish kind of people. And also, if your loved one was murdered by someone, you wouldn't just stick to the plan. you would be
Right.
like,
You wouldn't act
fuck you.
rationally.
Yeah. No, again, it's yeah, like the literacy with which people consume a story is fundamentally broken. Like already. Like on a
Yeah.
large scale it is broken. I don't know how you fix it.
I don't think you
So
can. I think you have to just you have to ignore it because
I think you have to just make your thing and be
Deal with people being assholes.
just know you're making
Unfortunately.
it for the people who will be there for it. And that's kind of it.
I do feel
Yeah.
like with some people I feel like genuinely like recommending The Sims to them because I feel like what they want in the story is The Sims. I remember when episode 9 came out and people like so they wanted Ben to be like, here is my life force. Wait a minute, we're all good. Let's leave. We'll go to build a house. We'll have
Here
a
is
kid.
a baby.
Yeah, we'll call it Renesmee. We're gonna we're gonna have a house and have and you'll see Ben Solo cutting the flowers, but it'll be funny because he's got a lightsaber doing it. Like shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
No,
like,
yeah. It's
ugh.
like stories are not wish fulfillment. I'm sorry.
No.
Like that's like one of my favorite lines of all time is when Freddie Prince Jr. went fucking off on Star Wars. And then he's
I
like,
love it.
no, this is information, not affirmation. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, put that on a fucking t-shirt. Like I'm not here to make you feel better. I'm here to explain like this.
You know what's funny as well? I also saw this recently with. This is such a stupid thing. I hate having to say these words together, but the Jane Austen fandom.
They're rabid out there.
Like, so they made it. There's a new version of Persuasion that came out, which
This is the Dakota Johnson one.
the Kurt Johnson one, which
Yeah.
a lot of them. I have to say this. I'm not trying to be biased on purpose. A lot of Americans were very angry about this because people there spoke out against it. And like for example, our good friend of the show, Clarice from The Independent, wrote a really great review of the film in terms of like it was like it got a very low score and well written, well precise way of describing it. Because people's response was, you don't like changing the original source. That's not the case. You can change the original source, but if you change pretty much everything about that character and the source and the basics of like why that character works, what that character thinks, you might as well just make your own story. Like no one's saying that you can't
Just benefiting off of the Jane Austen title anyway.
Yeah, like no one's saying that you can't redesign a famous novel. Like I think one of the best examples is Romeo and Juliet with the Leo DiCaprio film.
Romeo plus Juliet?
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry.
Get it right.
But that film is still fundamentally about those two characters and that situation they're in. It's just because there's guns in it doesn't mean it's completely different. The only thing that's majorly different is like the time, like difference, like the way it's where it's set and stuff. But you don't. I'd be like saying, yeah, this is Romeo and Juliet, but they're not together in it because obviously it's a bit more modern, and they don't die at the end. Like that. Then you might as well just do your own thing. And with Persuasion, it's like the dialogue. By the way, the dialogue is so fucking terrible. People are like, no, but you have to understand this is like kitschy. I'm like, she says a line which I know you did screenwriting stuff, Nicky. This line might be the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Which is, I can't remember it off the top of my head, so I do apologise, but it's kind of like, he's a 10 in Bath, but a 5 in London. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, see, I remember seeing that like a trailer for it and just being like, that just looks like a bad movie.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of being a new take or an update or whatever they want to call it, like, because I remember not like a few years ago, didn't they do like a version of Emma with like Anya Taylor-Joy?
Yes,
and
which
like,
was
and they did sort of a spin on it, but like it was very still like within the parameters of what you would expect.
Exactly. They modernized it, but it didn't disregard the main assets of the character and the fact that, especially like Persuasion is a very specific autobiographical tale for Jane Austen. Like it's very like to her own heart and like her own characteristics and her own like sadness there. and to sort of like conflate that, you know, like deep portrayal of like the, you know, losing a long lost love and meeting them again and the complications of that with kitschy like, hello, I'm Dakota Johnson, wink to the camera, Fleabag. It's just such a disrespectful, like, and like you said, it's not even that, it's just lame. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, like if you're gonna, like the first rule is make it good, and then you can play with genre and whatever. But like if it's already on weak foundations, then it's like you're just gonna embarrass yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like even things like you brought up Shakespeare, you brought up Romeo plus Juliet. Like you can adapt Shakespeare into things that are very, very, you know, different settings, different attitudes, different lines even than Shakespeare plays, and still have it be essentially at its core Shakespeare. 10 Things I Hate About You. Katerina is now Cat. Like all of these different things. And guess what? They didn't call that movie The Taming of the Shrew. They called it 10 Things I Hate About You. And it is a different story, but at the core of it, it's still Taming of the Shrew, but they don't act like we're doing Taming of the Shrew. Like you can still do that. And even that sounds like it's more true to the actual story than the rest of it because their motivations are the same.
Exactly.
And their needs and their character and their personalities and who they are is still the same. Just put them in a different time zone and make their vocabulary super 90s. Like that's it.
Like The Lion King is pretty much like Hamlet. You know? But
it's not, but they don't call it Hamlet.
yeah. Hamlet. Lion version.
Yeah. There's a long history of like taking like those two examples, you know, like taking the core but making it its own thing.
And even then, like we're saying, like those stories in themselves are based on another story that is just evolved. Like all stories are just the stories that are based on other stories that evolve. Like people that think Homer was like just an actual like Greek dude that went around coming up with his original ideas.
Yellow guy from Springfield.
Yeah. Hey Marge, I just made a new story called The Odyssey. Like that's not like, but even then, like Homer didn't create those stories from scratch. He didn't just come up with the Odyssey. That's based on thousands of years of word of mouth stories being told and diluted, and him actually writing it down.
Yeah.
But again, like in terms of adaptations and stuff, it's just about treating stuff with respect and like the reverence. Like, because if you want to make that movie, but just don't.
Yeah. Don't call it that other thing.
No.
Don't call it what you inspire. What it could, like so many things inspire other things. Just let that be it.
Yeah.
Name it a synonym for persuasion, coercion. There you go. There's your movie.
That's a good film.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Inspired by persuasion.
Like I remember when one of the things that made me very angry is when they did the American version of one of my favorite books, and everyone around the world loved it for some reason, and like this is exactly how it should be. This is how it should be, okay? And this is perfect. And the person who made it, I hate. And then it was revealed that this person was a piece of shit in real life, and I think he's disappeared for a bit. Which is, do you remember when they did? It was what's his name? Max. What's that nepotism kid? Max
Landis.
Max Landis.
What?
And famous for his dad chopping people's heads off. He did a version of Douglas Adams' books, Dirk Gently.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was just the worst. Like, it was just the overblown, kitschy, like, I think Elijah Wood was in it or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ugh. And everyone's like, this is amazing. Like, just, if you want to do that, just do your own thing. Don't quit. We had a really good version over here with Stephen Mangan, which was, like, just so much better, just because of the Britishness of it all. And, yeah, it's when people take ideas, but they think they're being that person now. Like, that, like, I've inherited the soul of this famous writer. And then you watch this stuff and you're like, oh, God. No, you're not. You're not. You're nothing like Douglas Adams. Don't even pretend you could touch him. Ugh. Anyway, that's me done. The rant. That's my ranting done.
I liked it.
It's been a good rant. The Germans scored also, so.
Oh, did they? Oh, fuck that.
Oh no, not the Germans. Oh no.
It's just kind of like a little shitty 10 minutes.
Oh, god damn it.
But yeah, no, it's I think in long story short, it's people sort your shit out. It's kind of the vibe here.
Have you ever read any Douglas Adams books?
Nope.
No, I've not read them.
I think you'd like them.
Yeah.
Let me get through the Star Wars shit I gotta read first. My god.
I think you'd like it, Claire. You heard of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right?
Yes. That is one that I do know.
By the way, that film got grossly but I love that film adaptation. I think that's great.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
That cast is just like spectacular looking back. Like
Margaret.
him cast as it's just one of the best. Like, and what I love about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is that every time Douglas Adams adapted it to something, so originally it was a radio show, then it was a TV show, then he made the books properly. Every time he did it, he added something new to it, and he wrote the script for the film before he passed away. And one of my favorite things he ever did was in that film, which is the point of view gun.
Oh god.
I love it so much. I'm looking at quotes from some of his works, and I think it's the best. It's just like stupid. Like if you try and take a cat apart to see how it works, the first thing you have in your hands is a non-working cat.
Oh god. Thank goodness both of mine are out of the room for you to make these comments. My cats.
Oh, they're out of the room.
Yeah, they left. Thank God. Just in time for you to say shit like that.
You know what they say. I see that. Let's have another one. Let's have a look. Time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. That's a good one. My favorite one about God.
It's silence because he doesn't exist.
Damn.
That's Claire's opinion.
On the spot.
This is a great quote from the first book, which is, "Space is big, really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the chemists, but that's just peanuts to space."
Such a cute way to say it.
In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and has been widely regarded as a bad move. It's a good book. Also, he was a script editor for Doctor Who. I think someone posted about someone asked me on AMA, like, they're interested in getting into Doctor Who, why should they watch it? And I just put a Douglas Adams quote because those episodes are just spectacular.
I'm still refusing to get into Doctor Who.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
One day.
We'll see. Probably not, but we'll see.
Offensive. Absolutely offensive. At least watch one serial.
I just like pissing you off.
Just watch one serial with me. Watch City of Death. City of Death is great. I say, what a violent butler. What have you been watching then? Before we wrap up.
Before we wrap up, let's see. I am now rewatching What We Do in the Shadows so Ethan can watch it, and that has been delightful. Even though I just watched it for the first time, I'm watching it again.
Stupid bloody donkey.
I love
Fucking guy.
We just started season 2, so it's been good. And I just started Severance this weekend, which is creepy, and y'all should watch it. Adam Scott is nominated for Best Actor for an Emmy. The show is nominated for Best Drama. It won't win, I don't think, but it's very interesting. It's a mindfuck. So yeah, it's good. It's like Black Mirror, but Adam Scott, and I still am not quite sure what's going on. I still don't know. But in a good way, I can't wait to figure it out.
I haven't watched it. Have you, Nicky?
No, I've always heard good things, though.
It's wild.
I keep seeing trailers for it. I don't know if I'm interested. I still need to watch, what's it called? Succession.
Oh, I haven't watched that either.
Oh, man, that shit rocks.
There was an interview recently on The Guardian, and I swear to God, it might be the best interview I've ever read. Like sincerely, like the questions asked and then the answers given are so well done and so well written and so well thought about. And it was between Brian Cox, the actor, and Sir Brian Cox, the physicist, the astrologist.
The astrophysicist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're asking questions about, like, conflating both art in terms of... Because if you don't know this, Claire, but Brian Cox is this, like, astrophysicist who's, like, really cool. Like, he's, like, a younger dude. But he also used to be the keyboardist in a band called D-Ream.
What?
I know. Like, he's, like, dope. And they always... The joke is that they all... Everyone's like, Brian Cox. You're like, which one? Like, who are you talking about? And The Guardian finally got them to both do an interview together on, like, Skype or Zoom or whatever. And it's one of the best interviews I've ever read. Like, I'm trying to find... I'll just read, like, one of the questions and answers because it's, like, absolutely... like, for example, Professor Brian Cox says, one of the themes from my live shows is the possibility that we might currently be the only intelligent civilization in the Milky Way. The challenge is the possibility that we might destroy ourselves, though through inaction or deliberate action, because we don't have the wisdom to control our own power, and what a tragedy that would be, given that we might be the only island of meaning in an ocean of 400 billion suns. Actor Brian Cox, I think that's incredibly feasible. I have been brought up Catholic, but in the last few years I've become quite atheist. Religion is confusing because we don't acknowledge who we are as humans. One of the reasons fear is so important to me is, why act? Acting is similar to religion, but religion is humanity. Religion is cul-de-sac because it provides peace. Yet here we are, still still dangerously in jeopardy of destroying ourselves. That's just the opening of this whole article.
Those are some big brains.
Yeah, I know. I sent you the link because it's incredible. Like, just this is Brian Cox, the actor, saying, "I think so, Brian. Acting is truthful. Religion is understandable. But we look to God, Muhammad, or the Pope. But we don't look to ourselves. Shakespeare says it all. Hold the mirror up to nature. He describes it very clearly in Hamlet's advice to the players. It's why Shakespeare is such a genius. Religion distracts us by saying, if we follow this path, we'll get salvation. I think it's a crock, quite frankly. And the older I get, the more of a crock I think it is." And then Brian Cox, the professor, goes, "It's interesting what you say, Brian. The transfer of responsibility to some external force. Carl Sagan is one of my heroes. His 1994 book, Pale Blue Dot, reacts to the image of the Earth taken from beyond Neptune as a single pixel. One line says, we have to understand that nobody's coming to save us from ourselves. Actor Brian, I couldn't agree with him more."
Wow.
It's just, I read it, I was just like in bed reading it. I was like, I'm enamored by this whole situation. Like, it's such a great interview.
It's just fascinating. Two fascinating people relating to each other on the same level, but different avenues. It's interesting. Very interesting.
It delves really deep into it as well. Like, there's a bit where he says, you have to take on the notion of selfishness because acting is all about confusion. I had a speech yesterday filming season 4 of Succession as Logan Roy, talking about human beings being economic units. I ask, what is a person? But get distracted asking, is the cheesecake any good here? The extraordinary thing about Logan, and why I don't see Logan the way everybody else sees him, is that he's a man on the journey of losing it, because he's aligned himself to something that has failed to give him satisfaction, namely that he cannot deal with his own children. The question I first asked was, does Logan Roy love his children? And creator Jesse Armstrong says, oh yes, he loves them very much. He constantly gets it wrong and becomes brutalist. That's why he's such a fascinating character. He's so complex. And it's like, I was like, oh my god, I want to watch the show now, because like just that description of it was just like mind blowing. Anyway,
Yeah, one day I'm gonna get around to it. I just feel like there's so much of it. I got one season of Succession right now, or not Succession, of Severance, and small doses. What are you watching, Nicky? Before we wrap, go ahead.
I was just gonna say quickly, Succession is was a weird thing to get into for me, because the first season I was like, I don't like any of these people. and it got to the point where it's like it's hard to watch something when you literally don't give a shit about anyone.
Yeah, subconsciously you want to root for somebody,
right? And then season 2 happened, and you're like, oh, I still don't really like anyone, but they're fascinating, and I love their chaos. and it just becomes this like chaos fest. And then by season 3, it was like, oh, you're all still awful people, and I like you, and I like your chaos. And then by the end of season 3, it's like, oh my fucking god, it's a masterpiece of a show. It's gonna mop up the next award season for the drama stuff. So
I'll say it was pretty much every category. It was Succession, nominated for everything.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be it's gonna be a really I don't know like where it ends, but it's every time it just keeps ramping up and up and up. So yeah, that's good.
Well. It's funny as well, considering like when I first heard that who created the show, it surprised me. But now retrospectively, I'm like, I'm not surprised at all. Like Jesse Armstrong, who created Peep Show, it's the same premise in terms of like when you watch Peep Show, you like the characters in terms of like you think they're funny and you laugh at them, but you don't like them. Like everyone in that show is pretty much the main characters are pretty much horrendous people, but you're still there. You still can't help but leave.
Well, also like I remember, there's writing in Succession where I'm like, you're not just a writer. Like you've done some shit. You've seen some shit. Like you don't just have a dumb writer brain. Like you have a real person brain. And then you like go look at what he's done in life. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's just amazing stuff in there. But yeah, as we wrap up, what am I watching? I will plug Star Trek: Strange New Worlds on Paramount Plus and The Bear on Hulu. Fucking genius television.
Man. I gotta finish that. It stresses me out.
The restaurant or what? What is it?
I literally just walked past it yesterday. I walked past Mr. Beef that it's based on.
Oh, really?
And that it was filmed at. Yeah, that it was filmed at Mr. Beef and based on Mr. Beef. And like everything is Mr. Beef.
Is that a strip club?
I literally walked by it yesterday. No. Chicago Italian beef.
The premise of the show is essentially a young chef, like young culinary prodigy, is left a little like hole in the wall type place by his brother, and he has to like go run it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's amazing.
It's intense.
It's
well, not intense, but
I didn't even find it that stressful. It like there's just like a lot of shouting at times.
I find it stressful because it gave me instant war flashbacks to in the kitchen being screamed at by the chef.
Yeah,
kind
that's,
of like
that's
flashbacks.
That's what
like,
I hear.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. It stresses me out so much because I'm like, oh, I have been here. I've worked with these people, and you grow to love these people. You really do, but they're all horribly flawed people who say some really fucked up things to each other and to you, and they're going to break you down as a human being but nobody else is allowed to fuck with you. Only they are allowed to fuck with you. And it's this really weird, messed up like environment.
Claire, we're right here.
And it's exactly. But that's why it was so stressful for me to watch. I needed to take a break because I'm like, I've worked in this kitchen and I am really happy that I'm out of this industry. But a lot of people are bonding over it. It just stressed me out, man.
Yeah. It so the penultimate episode is entirely a oneer. And it's a real one.
Wow.
It's not an edited one. And what's his name? The lead actor, I can't remember his name. It's like Jeffrey something or Jeremy something.
It's
I don't.
Jeremy Allen White.
There we go. Yeah, he was like, we practiced it 5 times that morning. So, like they rehearsed it several times to just go, and it's like what, like 20 minutes of just like it's like a play, and it's incredible, and the ending is so good that I know it. I saw it. It already got season 2, and the ending is so good. I'm like, you don't even need season 2. You just fucking nailed it, like right there. So yeah, it's fantastic. Go watch it.
I'll get around to it.
Yeah, it's on the list.
Put my thinking cap on and disconnect emotionally.
Well, speaking
There's
of
also a scene that made me like literally burst out laughing. That involves, actually I want to say it. But it involves Ecto Cooler.
Oh.
Oh wait, I've seen that part. I have seen that part.
Well, speaking about
Amazing.
Disconnecting intelligently, I think it's time we wrapped up.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Right, thanks you guys for listening to our ramble. We'll be back next time with more shit. Bye.